everyone, this is Rihanna from A Frugal Life, and today we're going to be talking about a hot topic on our Frugal Living Facebook group, Frugal versus Cheap. So this is a topic that comes up a lot on our Frugal Living Facebook group, whether it's in its own topic that comes up during the day or a comment on somebody else's post talking about how cheap they are and not frugal. So I want to talk to you about the actual difference between frugal versus cheap and how you can tell if you're being frugal or cheap and whether it's a good thing to be either one. So I'm going to look down for just a minute while I read something to you. So the dictionary.com definition of frugal is economical in use or expenditure, prudently saving or sparing, not wasteful. The dictionary.com definition of cheap is costing little labor or trouble or of little account, small value, shoddy, not of good quality. So these are just the dictionary definitions. The part that's important is the perception, either your perception, the community's perception, your family's perception. I had an old boss who used to quote all the time, perception is reality, and it really is. It doesn't matter what the actual definition is. It matters what other people think the definition is and what you in your heart feel the definition is. So let's talk about that a little bit. So in my view, cheap is to spend as little money or no money if possible, regardless of the outcome or the consequences of that action. And cheap people typically want to spend no money no matter what the cost. They're willing to do anything and everything not to spend money. If you've ever watched Extreme Cheapskates on Netflix, you know what this is all about. So that is cheap. Let's talk about frugal. Frugal is getting the best quality and value of something for the amount of money you have, and also spending less on things that don't matter or that aren't important to you so that you can spend more on things that are important to you. The tagline of my blog has always been living a good life for less. So it's about living the best life you can, but spending less money to do it. Let me give you my first example of frugal versus cheap. I'd been needing a pair of shoes for a long time, and my husband was urging me to buy better shoes. And I have to admit, I had been cheaping out. I had not been being frugal, I had been being cheap. So I had been spending as little money on shoes as absolutely possible. I had been buying them at Payless for the longest time, and then I, after that, tried to buy them on Poshmark and other discount stores, but still buying the Payless brands because it was what I was used to, and I really didn't want to spend more than $9 on a pair of shoes. So that was me being cheap, and let me tell you why. You can spend as little as possible on buying a pair of shoes, but they may not fit right, they may not be comfortable, they may be damaging to your feet, which they were to me, and they may be damaging to your back because your shoes are your foundation. They are what makes you stand upright. They're what supports you. They're good for your feet, your back, your posture, everything else. It's very important to have good shoes, which I learned after a long time of buying bad shoes. So that was being cheap, buying shoes that would wear out very quickly and that were not good for my health or my safety. And then we found an outlet. So we went to the Skechers outlet and we bought shoes that are normally $120 for $30. So that's being frugal. They were very high quality shoes. They were still a little more than I was wanting to spend, but these shoes will last a really long time. They're very comfortable. They're very supportive to my feet and to my back. And that is being frugal, spending as little as possible on what you need without sacrificing the health and safety of yourself or others. So that's just the first example I have of frugal versus cheap. Let's talk about a little more about the concept. So one of my favorite bloggers, Camilla Colozzo, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, has a blog on this very same thing, frugal versus cheap. And there is a quote I want to talk to you about or tell you what she says. I wrote this one down as well for you. She says, being frugal is more about the bigger picture and the simple day-to-day saving strategies that pay off in the long run. Let's read that again. Being frugal is more about the bigger picture and the simple day-to-day saving strategies that pay off in the long run. Being cheap is about saving money at all costs, which is not always the best practice, which I learned from buying cheap shoes. Let's talk about example number 2 I have for you. Being cheap in regards to your teeth would be refusing to go for your yearly checkups if you don't have insurance because you don't want to put out the money to get it done. So in your checkups, they check to make sure your teeth are healthy, they clean them, and they give you preventative measures to not have toothaches down the line. But not wanting to pay for those things is understandable and is something that people do a lot. That's being cheap, however. Being frugal would be getting it done, but still getting it done inexpensively. So going to a dental school maybe and getting it done for free or inexpensive or discount rates, or shopping around for the best dental rates in your area, but still getting your preventive measures done. So if you're cheap and cheap out on doing those things that you need to do for your health, or for your dental work or anything like that, you could end up with a very serious infection down the way and have to pay thousands more in dental fees to get something fixed. So cheap would be cheaping out and not getting it done, while frugal would be just getting it done, but getting it done for a little less money. Let's talk about another one of my bloggers, Debt-Free Dana. She's also one of the favorites of many people in my group, and she has amazing blogs on living frugally and thrifty for her family. And one of the things she does is frugal versus cheap. So in her video, she talks about things she will cheap out on and things she won't cheap out on. I don't really like the terminology because, again, we don't want to be cheap on anything. We want to be frugal. But these are the things she believes are priorities in her life. So some of the things she will cheap out on or be frugal on are toilet paper. She doesn't care if she has a high quality, comfortable toilet paper. She's willing to pay less money for it. And honestly, it's not cheap. It's frugal, it's saving money, it's not detrimental to your health, and it's something that's not a priority for her. So she's willing to spend less on it. The other thing she talks about is furniture and clothes. This is a big iffy one for some people because some people like to have very high quality furniture that will last a long time in their house. I tend to agree. She is willing to cheap out, as she says, and buy things like IKEA furniture. I don't think IKEA furniture lasts, especially furniture that you sit on, and I would want to buy a high quality, but I always buy used furniture, so I would buy it for less. So it definitely depends on your priorities. If you're willing to buy more high quality but find it at a lower cost, that's very frugal. If you don't care about the quality of your furniture and are willing to go a little bit cheaper, then that's something that you prioritize going frugally on. Some of the things she won't cheap out on, which I highly agree, are diapers, shoes, and trash bags. Diapers because it's her baby's skin and she doesn't want to cheap out and have maybe harsh chemicals or other things that would damage her baby. Shoes, the same reason I talked about, it's good for your health to have good shoes. And trash bags, she just doesn't want trash all over her house when she picks up the bag out of the garbage. So again, these are her priorities and she's determined to spend a little more money on them in order to have a better quality. Now, you can still go frugally and buy high quality. So maybe she's buying diapers that are high quality name brand at a discount, or buying trash bags with a coupon on Amazon, which I put up on my Facebook group all the time. So be sure and check that one out. A little bit commercial there for you. Check out the Facebook group. We have things like that on there all the time. So I just wanted to point out and give you this as an example that we all have different priorities. Maybe in my life, I'm willing to spend less on some of these things or more on some of these things. But frugal versus cheap, again, is to save money in the long run, spend less on things that are not important to you, and that way you can spend more on things that are important to you. If you want to see the entire Debt-Free Dana video, I've posted that one down below because she does have a whole list of other things and reasons for her different choices. So I will post that down below so you can check that out after this one. So the bottom line is frugal versus cheap. Saving money is good. Saving money is what we do here. Saving money is all about living a good life for less, our tagline again. But you do not want to cheap out when you save money. You want to be frugal. You should, in conclusion, save money whenever you can, wherever you can, as long as you don't break these rules. Number one, do not cheap out or save money on things if it would hinder your safety or someone else's. For example, don't buy a cheap car that's going to break down on the freeway. Maybe buy a more high quality car, but shop around and get it for less. Do not cheap out or save money on your health. So always get your preventative health checkups, always get the best quality care that you can afford, always get the best quality medications and vitamins that you can afford. Don't cheap out on anything that's bad for your health or for your family's health. Don't go frugal if it's going to hurt your finances in the future. Don't buy something cheaply made now if you're going to have to replace it a month down the line. Buy quality. I am all about buying quality in furniture and clothes and houses and cars and whatever you can get, but do it frugally. So decide if you need that item, if you really need that item and you want it, you should buy the high quality one that won't hurt you or your family. You should just save money doing it. So number 1 was safety, number 2 was health, number 3 was finances, and number 4 is don't hinder anybody else with your frugality. So you don't want to hinder the comfort, safety, or health of anybody else, just like you don't want to hinder the comfort, safety, or health of yourself. And also do not prevent somebody else from earning a living. I'm going to give you a few examples of that now. Don't steal from people, don't steal from corporations, don't steal from businesses, just don't steal. Some people say it's okay if I steal from a corporation, it's okay if I take food from the buffet, it's okay if I steal from the store because they're a corporation. It is not okay to steal in any circumstances. We're just going to say that up front. We don't need to explain it. Basic ethics, basic morals, don't steal to be frugal. Going right along with morals and ethics is if you live in America where tipping is customary, do not go out if you can't afford to tip. Don't plan to go out and say that the meal was bad so you cannot tip. Don't go out if you can't afford to tip. It's just simple math. In America, we tip. Americans do not make as much money as other countries do when they work as waitresses and bartenders and hostesses. They depend on their tips to make a living. My family is a service family, and I will never ever agree that it's not okay to tip. So don't do it. Don't do it to be frugal. If you can't afford to tip, don't go out. Number 3, this is going to sound weird, but don't bring your own food or drink into restaurants. My mom owns a bar. If somebody brought drinks into her bar, which she sells, she loses out the money on selling those, and she could also lose her liquor license. So it may be more dire in a bar situation, but people are making a living. I don't care if you think that businesses have a lot of money. They don't. Most businesses right now, especially during the pandemic, are strapped for cash and just barely making it. So don't bring food into a restaurant if you can't afford to eat there. Don't go there. Their business is to sell you food. They're not there just to have a place for you at the table, for you to entertain yourself or your friends. So don't go out if you can't afford to purchase food or drink in the restaurant. And the last one, which goes along with all of that, is don't impede others from making a living. Don't do anything that's frugal and slightly unethical or immoral if it will impede others from making a salary, making their hourly wage, making a profit on a business. You want to save money, and if somebody offers a discount, take it. That's what frugal is being about. But don't do something that would cause them pain or hindrance in their financial well-being, especially now we're in the pandemic and everybody is strapped for cash. Everybody is hurting. So don't do anything that would hinder the comfort, safety, or health of yourself or others, but save money when and wherever you can, and that's being frugal. If you are hindering the comfort, safety, or health of yourself or others, that is being cheap. What do you think? Put your answers down below. What's frugal, what's cheap? If you have any stories about people doing cheap around you, comment down below, and please, please, please like and subscribe, and I will get back to you in the next video. Thanks.